Hello everyone, this is Princess here, and in today's video we are going to talk about our next event character, which is going to be Queen from Final Fantasy Type 0. The synergy characters, or I guess her banner mates I should say, are going to be Fran and Cater, and it will also feature Cloud of Darkness's Burst. So let's get started. So Queen's crystal affinity is white and she uses swords. Her spears are A, D, and D, and then her roles are melee, attacker, healer, and support. Her first skill is called Speed Rush Thrust, which is a 3-hit Brave HP attack that will extend buffs for 1 turn. And then her second skill is called Mana Sphere, so this raises Brave based on max Brave to party members, except for Queen. And then she follows up with a 2-hit AoE Brave HP attack. HP damage is split, and this will grant Honor Students Knowledge for 3 turns, and Class 0 Tactics for 2 turns. So Honor Students Knowledge will raise Queen's max Brave and attack, and then Class 0 Tactics also raises max Brave and attack, but it also grants Brave regen, a 20% gain Brave overflow, and it also raises Brave damage. Then we have our C65, which is HP Heal Boost All. So this restores party HP and then raises max Brave for all allies for 3 turns. Looking at her call ability, so when you call her in, she is going to use Mana Sphere, which will raise party Brave based on max Brave at the start of the turn, and also raises Brave based on max Brave for 3 turns. Going to the extensions now, so with Speed Rush Thrust, it will now do 6 Brave hits, it adds a 150% max Brave overflow, and raises party Brave based on max Brave. Then for Mana Sphere, it also raises Brave based on max Brave, it raises Brave based on max Brave, and then does 6 Brave hits, and adds a 200% max Brave overflow. And then Honor Students Knowledge will change the Brave and HP attack into Brave Attack Plus and HP Attack Plus. So Brave Attack Plus is now 2 Brave hits, and then HP Attack Plus is a Brave HP attack that will raise Queen's Brave based on max Brave. It has a 120% max Brave overflow, and then raises party Brave based on HP damage dealt. So going over to the artifacts, the recommended artifacts would be Attack, Max Brave, and then her C50, which is called Implacable Justice Up. This will raise her Max Brave and attack by 5% while she has the Class 0 Tactics buff on her, which is going to be all the time. Moving on to her armor, her 35 armor is called Queen's Hair Clip. This will raise her Max Brave by 220 and her attack by 72. Her 90 CP armor is Queen's Glasses. This will add 680 to her HP and then 84 to her defense. And then when you realize it, it adds 110 to her initial Brave and 72 to her attack. Then we have her high armor, We have her high armor called the Fulgur Codex, which raises party attack by 5%. Moving on to her weapons, her 15 CP is called the Claymore, which will add 2 uses to Speed Rush Thrust and raises Brave damage. And then her 35 CP weapon is the Shamshir, so Mana Spear will now deal more Brave damage, and then even more on single targets, and will extend Honor Students Knowledge and Class 0 Tactics. Then we have her EX weapon, which is called the Rune Saber, and this will grant her the skill Berserk Awakening. So this drops her HP all the way down to 1, and then Brave Heal will be based on the HP consumed, and then she does a single target HP attack, followed by a 4-hit AoE melee Brave single target HP attack. She does deal more damage on single targets. She'll do splash damage on the last HP attack, and this will grant the Berserk Awakening effect over her head. So it's an overhead effect, I should say, or overhead buff. So it will raise attack and Brave damage, it prevents a KO, and it heals 50% HP when it's dispelled. This also changes her Brave attacks variance into Balestra Lunge and her HP attack variance into Devastate. This will also restrict all of her skills except for Balestra Lunge and Devastate. Then we have her LD weapon called the Ancient Blade, and this will grant Divine Judgment. So this will restore HP and then does an 8-hit Brave HP attack. HP damage is split, deals more Brave damage on single targets. It has a 150% max Brave overflow. It raises party Brave based on HP damage dealt, and then grants Wave of Judgment for 2 turns. And what's cool about this buff is that when the party has over 50% HP, you will not be KO'd. So it has Last Stand built into it. So now looking at the Divine Judgment call. So when you use Divine Judgment, for 3 turns, it raises the party's attack. Brave gain will be based on max Brave, and it also raises HP damage and also adds HP regen. So going over to the EX passives, at 1 out of 3 you will get Berserk Awakening Power, which raises Brave damage. At 2 out of 3 you will get Berserk Awakening Longer, so this will extend her effect for 2 turns, so she has it for 3 turns in total. And then at 3 out of 3, you will get Berserk Awakening Recast Up, which will raise recast speed. Then for the LD passive, so at 1 out of 3, you will get Judgment Wave Longer. So this raises Brave damage and will turn her Brave and HP attack variants into Brave Attack plus plus and HP attack plus plus. So Brave Double Plus is just 3 Brave hits that grants Party Brave, and then HP Double Plus is a 2-hit Brave HP attack that grants Party Brave and has a 120% overflow. And then at 2 out of 3, you will get Wave of Judgment Longer, which will extend her buff for 2 turns, so 4 turns in total. And then at 3 out of 3, you will get Divine Judgment Charge, which will add another use to her LD. Looking at the realized passives, at 0 out of 3, Queen's Brave gain from HP consumption will now be 300%. She's now going to deal 6 Brave hits with higher potency and adds a 150% overflow and will extend own buffs for 1 turn. At 1 out of 3, this will raise max Brave and attack when you have her EX passive equipped. At 2 out of 3, Queen will start the quest with Honor Student's Knowledge for 6 turns and Class 0 Tactics for 4 turns. It also raises attack from Berserk Awakening and raises HP damage. And then finally, at 3 out of 3, you will get a greater potency boost and will now deal more splash damage. Then we have her bonus spear, which is called Break Hit Attack Boost All Shorter. So this raises party's max Brave and attack for 3 turns when breaking or attacking a broken target. And this is a D spear as well. Alright, so moving on to the boss. So you will be fighting the Strong Beast, which are Were-Tiger reskins, and you're going to be fighting 3 of them. And they're also weak to wind, apparently, for some reason. Okay, so already looking at this list, so they don't have a whole lot of attacks on them, but they can inflict a lot of HP attacks, and their recast ability is this Group Thunder Brave HP attack that deals full damage. It reduces HP damage that they get and also ignores null effects, so characters like Gladio and Warrior of Light are still going to take damage. They can also inflict poison and turn rate down, and yeah, that's about it. So a couple of nasty debuffs and just some HP attacks. So now looking at the Lufenia for this fight. So the orb will appear when they are below 80%. It can't be cancelled out. The orb has 2 conditions. Either increases by 1 with HP regen or 15 when they are delayed by 3 turns. So again, they want you to use Cloud of Darkness for this. Another thing about this fight is that when their HP is below 70 and 50%, they're going to have these HP shields up, which prevents them from taking any damage. So you can easily mitigate that by taking a DPS unit, someone like Cloud of Darkness or Squall, just anyone who can hit pretty hard or just focuses on damage. So some alternatives that you can use for this event, Gladio, Sabin, and Cloud of Darkness will have synergy for this fight. If you're in need of someone with a healer, you could take Paladin Cecil, you can take Ignis or Theodore. And then for delayers, the only one that really comes to mind is just Cloud of Darkness or Quistis or Garland. I mean, he only delays by 1 turn, but you should be fine if you're pairing him with an HP regen unit. So now I'm going to head over to Opera Omnia JP, and I'm going to showcase Queen's skills. So give me a quick second. Alright, so we are back in Opera Omnia JP. So here's my Queen over here. You may notice that she does have level 90 on her, level 90 Awakening recently. Well, not recently, but it did come into JP, so Queen does have it on her. I do have her high armor, her EX, and her LD, which is right over here. And now we're going to showcase her skills. Okay, so Fran is up first. Alright, so here's Speed Rush Thrust. So right off the bat, you can see she has her buffs, Honor Student's Knowledge and Class 0 Tactics, and then right after I did Speed Rush Thrust, she extended her buffs. Okay, so now, so Queen's gonna have a turn after the Phoenix. And, let's do this. Alright, so here's Mana Sphere. And then when it's Queen's turn again, I'm going to demonstrate her LD. Alright, so here is Divine Judgment. Now everyone has the Wave of Judgment buff. Or she has Wave of Judgment on her, I should say. Sorry. Alright, so her EX is ready now, so I'm just gonna skip ahead to when her turn is next. Okay, so here's the EX. And I'm just gonna say right now, when I saw this, I was not expecting this. So she goes full yandere mode. I think that's how you say it. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. But yeah, that will happen. She goes completely berserk and turns into a murderer. And overhead, you can see she has the Berserk Awakening buff. So this is it right over here. Okay, so now her Brave attack has changed into Balestra Lunge, and her HP attack is now Devastate. And as you can see, I cannot use any of her skills, her S1, S2, or her LD. So we're going to do Balestra Lunge first, and when you use it, she has an instant turn rate, which is really nice. I'm going to do it one more time. And then we're going to do Devastate. The way how I always did this was, if there was like, if it was either a single target or like a group of enemies, I would always use Balestra Lunge just for the instant turn rate. So with that being said, I think that pretty much covers up everything for Queen. So thank you guys very much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Let me know if you will be pulling for Queen or for somebody else, like if she comes back. And I will see you all next time.